Well, we're in section 1.6. 1.6 is about experiments, sometimes called designed experiments. And experiments are another way of collecting information. There's only two ways. Going out there and collecting information, which is called making a survey, or doing an experiment where a treatment is imposed and a response is observed. So it says here, in experiments, the experimenter imposes a treatment and observes a response. So we're looking for the imposition of a treatment to be called an experiment. So the experimenter imposes a treatment. Sometimes treatments are imposed in other ways, but in order to control how the treatments are administered, the experimenter imposes a treatment themselves. Maybe they divide the subject into groups in some way and imposes some treatment on one group, another treatment on another, so they have control over who gets what. That's how you know if it's an experiment, if the experimenter has control over who gets what treatment. If the experimenter doesn't have any control over who gets what treatment, then they're just doing a survey looking at the effects of treatments that they can't control. In an experiment, the explanatory variables are referred to as factors. A chosen level of a factor or factors is called the treatment. So if you're trying to decide, say, for example, compare 3 different headache pain relievers, then the type of headache pain reliever would be the factor. The exact allocation of which pain reliever would be called a treatment. So the fact that you're getting one of the pain relievers is the factor, and the level would be which pain reliever you got. Individuals subjected to treatments are called subject or experimental units. So ordinarily, even if they're people, they might call them experimental units. Ordinarily, they call people subjects. Otherwise, if your experiment involves something that's not human, I suppose you might be more likely to call it an experimental unit rather than a subject. An experiment usually involves comparing treatments. So that's important. We often compare treatments. You don't have to compare treatments. You can just administer one treatment and observe the response to that treatment. But ordinarily, that suffers from the problem that in the process of administering the treatment, other things may have happened to the individuals. And so you can't discriminate whether the treatment caused a response or other things that might have happened at the same time might have produced the response. That would be called confounding. So in order to avoid confounding, one treatment group is usually treated with some sort, that is an R right there, some sort of baseline treatment. It is called the control group. So we need a control group. Sometimes the control group sort of gets, oh, here it comes. Sometimes the control group receives a dummy treatment that resembles the true treatment but lacks the active ingredient. And that treatment is called the placebo. So we say we administered a placebo to one group. So if it's, we're talking about headache relief, one of the groups just gets a pill that doesn't have any drugs in it. Maybe it's a sugar pill, that's what they usually call it, but maybe it's just a pill. That's like a piece of chalk or something, who knows. A response to a placebo is called the placebo effect. So we've got a response that happens. The placebo effect happens because the act of being treated causes a response. So knowing you're part of a study group, knowing that they've given you something, expecting that maybe it causes a reaction. The brain is a powerful item and can actually induce a response. That response would be called the placebo effect. And so we have to guard against the placebo effect anytime we perform an experiment, because you'll see a response, usually a short-lived response based on the fact that some treatment happened, and that people will claim, yeah, that seems to be working, I feel a lot better, but then maybe 10, 15 minutes later they go, my headache has returned and it's as worse as ever. And so that would be a placebo effect type of situation. So that's the purpose of having a control group and a treatment group to compare, and that's the basic design of an experiment, and I've run out of space on this screen, and so that's the end of this video.